In this day and age, with the world being ultra-liberal, anything can be seen as hate. Any kind of contrarian pushback, even at the slightest, will make the world categorize a person as a bigot. In this video, we'll be going over a discussion question posed by Protestant author Jefferson Bethke in his book, Jesus Greater Than Religion. The book, which is an expansion of a viral video, is a goldmine if you're looking for exercises against objections that may be used against the Catholic faith. This video series' purpose is to answer these so-called hard-to-answer questions with Catholic orthodoxy. If you find this video useful, please like, share, and most importantly, subscribe not just to the YouTube channel, but to our Instagram pages as well. With that, let us begin. Question: why do you think Christianity's essence has developed to hates gays, can't drink beer, and no tattoos in the minds of so many? Is this the result of the institutional church, individual Christians, or something else? And just before we start, I just want to do this for fun. Let us just define the word essence. Essence, in philosophical terms, means a term applied to a source of all attributes, that which causes the thing to be what it is, that which distinguishes one thing from another. Following Catholic teaching does not change Christianity's essence to the parodical essence that Bethke is claiming. In reality, this development in essence is found in Protestantism. Since it is a subjectivist religion, it will always find itself either developing into liberalism or becoming a parody of Catholic positions. We will tackle the first part of Bethke's question: hates gays. Hatred is a sin against the theological virtue of charity, which calls for Catholics to love God, our neighbor, and ourselves. Catholics must love their neighbor for the love of God. Loving God is to obey God, and not to displease God by sinning or encouraging sin in others. The truth is, telling a homosexual not to engage in sodomitic acts is one of the most charitable things a Catholic can do and should do. Remember that man is subjected to the providence or order of God, the direction of all things to their end. There are no exceptions for this universal axiom. That means sex also must conform to the order God has commanded. Sex is ordered for the procreation of children and is only licit under the sacrament of marriage. Embarrassingly enough, we have to remind our enemies that a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, cannot fulfill this sacrament. Definitionally, quote, gay sex cannot even be categorized as sex because it is not ordered to the end that sex has. Sex's ordered end is for the procreation of children. Gay sex's end is for stimulated pleasure. Gay sex is ultimately a misuse of the human body and therefore disordered. An action that is disordered is therefore a sin, an act against reason, and immoral, since the only fruit that gay sex can bear is chaos. For this reason, God abhors it. Catholics are called, by their love of God, to hate sin. Catholics have a duty to remind their gay neighbors that their sexual depravities are abhorrent to God. It is a true hatred towards their neighbors not to reprimand the action, since it is an action that not only leads to physical and emotional harm, but spiritual harm. Living in that depravity will send the soul to hell. A reminder that Catholics cannot hate gay people simply because of their sin, for that would be hypocritical. But Catholics can hate the action of homosexuality itself. Unfortunately, either on purpose or by ignorance, Bethke, and in fact all non-denominationalists, purposefully combine the sinner and the sin to one in order to state the following argument. Homosexuality is a sin. Everyone sins. Because everyone sins, no sinner can be judged. Because no one can be judged, you have to accept sinners and their sins. All a Catholic has to do to take out this bad argument is to apply it to something that the non-denominationalists, and therefore everyone in general, hates. Pedophilia is a sin. Everyone sins. Because everybody sins, no sinner can be judged. Because no one can be judged, you have to accept sinners and their sin. Sin cannot be tolerated, and ultimately a person who has no intention to overcome their personal sins must not be tolerated as well. Not doing so would be spiritually irresponsible. Going over the next part of the discussion question is can't drink beer. The Catholic Church does not ban drinking beer, but rather calls for temperance. Temperance is a cardinal virtue which helps one to restrain or moderate the desires to what appeals to the senses. The word is applied to total abstinence from strong drink, the movement for moderation of abstinence from intoxicating liquors. The Bible states, "Do not be deceived, drunkards will not inherit the kingdom of heaven." Corinthians 6, 9-11. Remember also that drunkenness reduces the drunkard and his family to poverty and sickness. Drunkenness must also be remembered as a sin of gluttony. A man, when drunk, does more than lose his reason and make a fool of himself. He often becomes a source of grief and even terror. It is well for young people to abstain from drinking and smoking till after they are 20 years of age. After reaching the appropriate and legal age of drinking, the prudent position is to drink with temperance, but highly recommended that one just not drink in general. The sensual man does not perceive the things that are not of the Spirit of God. 1 Corinthians 2:14. Unfortunately, through subjectivism of Protestantism, the devil attacks the virtue of temperance by presenting a parody of it. Temperance is replaced by "cannot drink beer." This parody of temperance also creates a false piety, and is the explanation to why Protestants sometimes are prideful for not drinking. It is wise to remember that if one abstains from drink just to be able to look down on those who do not, this is not temperance but vanity. And of course, practicing virtues for earthly praise is the definition of hypocrisy. However, Catholics who, for the love of God, decide to skip out on drinking altogether should be praised rather than ridiculed. Catholics cannot be liberal on what I suspect is the agenda of this being brought up, which is to get Catholics to be more accepting of partying it up. Remember that a vast majority of sexual crimes, one-night stands, and other degenerate activities start with drinking alcohol. Trying to get Catholics to abandon temperance is definitely sinful. Moving on, no tattoos. This is easy to respond. In the Old Testament, the chosen people were specifically commanded, "You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh, or tattoo any marks upon you." Leviticus 19:28. The Bible is very direct on this topic. If Bethke holds himself to the principle of sola scriptura, this should be the end of his discussion question. But to expand on the reasons why Catholics should not tattoo themselves, here are some things to think about. Why would Catholics want to look like the enemies of the church? Tattoos, and to add as well, body modification like weird piercings, are actions used by the enemies of God as the surest sign of rebellion against God and his holy religion. As the Bible states, "Do you not know that your body is a temple from the Holy Ghost within you, which you have from God?" If a parish priest were to paint Japanese words on the side of the parish, would that be considered an improvement or a defacement? How serious can you take a parish with Spider-Man painted on the outer wall? What about tattoos of Catholic imagery? Do not deceive yourself. God does not want to be represented in a tattoo. Neither does God want his holy religion to be represented in a tattoo either. Body modifications, be it tattoos or piercings, at their most innocent are acts of pride motivated by the sinful urge for attention. An inconvenient truth for man is that man has no right to deface his body because his body does not belong to him, but to God. And just a reminder, Catholics are called not to ridicule converts or reverts with tattoos. Since we live in a very secular world, and those who live in a world without Catholic influence will fall for the enticements of the world, Catholics unfortunately have to expect acts of personal defacement common. If a convert or a revert agrees to not get any more tattoos and or agrees to cover or remove highly offensive tattoos, we must not hold them to ridicule over them, but receive them with love. If a convert or a revert agrees not to get any more tattoos and or agrees to cover or remove highly offensive tattoos, we must not hold them to ridicule, but receive them with love.